Manx Radio Sports, brought to you by the Pritchard. Visit thepritchardiom.com today to set up your personalised web shop for your sports club or business.
A very good evening. You're listening to Saturday Sport Classified on Manx Radio AM 1368. Over the next hour or so for results, reaction and analysis to today's football and rugby action across the Isle of Man and further afield. Joined once again here in the studio by our correspondents Tony Mepham and Dave Christian to look through all the details of the day. But first, of course, we can now bring you the classified sporting results for the Isle of Man for today, Saturday the 11th of April 2026, and they are as follows. Starting with football. The Canada Life Men's Premier League. Russian United 0, Union Mills 2, Ayr United 1, Braddon 4, Ramsey 4, Foxdale 2, St Mary's 3, Peel 5, St John's United 7, Douglas High School Old Boys 3, Onken 0, Laxey 1, Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2, Colby 3, Maloo 0. Castletown versus Ramsey Centre Old Boys, awaiting result. Pulrose United versus Governors Athletic, awaiting result. St George's versus Douglas and District, awaiting result. Morown versus Douglas Royal, awaiting result. Canada Life Combination 1. Union Mills versus Russian United, awarded as an away walkover to Russian United. Union Mills unable to field a team. Braddon versus Ayr United, awarded as a home walkover to Braddon. Ayr United unable to field a team. Foxdale versus Ramsey, awaiting result. Peel 3, St Mary's 1. Douglas High School Old Boys versus St John's United, awaiting result. Laxey versus Onken, awaiting result. Ardern and Drug Unlimited Combination 2. Maloo versus Colby, awarded as an away walkover to Colby. Maloo unable to field a team. Ramsey Centre Old Boys versus Castletown, awaiting result. Governors Athletic versus Pulrose United, awaiting result. Douglas and District versus St George's, awaiting result. Douglas Royal versus Douglas Athletic, awaiting result. And Michael United 2, Morown 4. And in rugby, Regional 2 Northwest. North Ribblesdale 50, Douglas 3. Counties 3 ADM Lancashire and Cheshire Minor Conference League. Ramsey 8, Ormskirk 26. Vagabonds 32, Hoylake 12. And in the Hartford Homes Manx Shield, Western Vikings 73, Douglas Celts 10. Those are your classified sporting results for the Isle of Man on Saturday, the 11th of April 2026. Particularly when it comes to football, if you've just been listening in, we still have a lot of results still to come through to us from the respective games. If you do have any details, please do let us know by WhatsApp or email 166 177. Well, joining us in the studio is our football correspondent, Tony Mepham. Some big results across the respective divisions today, Tony, before we get into the specifics.
It certainly is, and no doubt about it, the Premier League, I think it's swinging towards Peel now, and certainly Division 2 as well, going Colby's way, but there's still a lot of football to be played, certainly in Division 2, but they've got to keep going because Combination 1 and Combination 2 is probably the most exciting chases that are going on between those two, because we haven't got a clue where it's going to go. Certainly Combination 2, but big result in Combination 1 for Ramsey puts them, I think, slightly in the driving seat of where that title is going to go.
Absolutely. Let's go straight into the results then, starting in the Canada Life Men's Premier League over at Croytlowie today. Russian United hosted Union Mills, and Union Mills with a chance to move within 2 points of their host today with a victory. That's exactly what they've done today. Union Mills victorious on the road, winning by 2-0.
Yeah, they've done really well today, and if you remember last night, I sort of tipped Union Mills to take something out of this one because I know home advantage for Russian, but you know, Russian are going through transition. I've seen them recently playing at the Bowl, and there's some really good young players coming through Excuse me, but today it was an older player. He's not too old, but an older player in Union Mills team. Anyway, Jordan Crawley, lots of experience, lots of appearances for Millers. He got one, and a new kid on the block, I think, and I might be proven wrong on this one, but he's a near neighbour of mine's son, Noah Wood it was, who got the goal. That's the son, so well done to him. I think that might be his first team goal for Union Mills, but if it's not, I stand corrected. But I know Noah sort of moved around a little bit. He's come back to the club he came up with, and he's got that second goal, all-important goal, but it finished up Russian 0, Union Mills 2.
Well, whether it was a first goal or not, helping Union Mills on the way to 3 points at Croyt Lowy today. Up in the north of the island, Ayr United hosted Braddon at the start of today. Braddon were 11 points clear of the, or should I say 9 points clear, my apologies, of the relegation zone, and Douglas High School boys just below them. Could move to within 4 points of Ayr United, just above them with victory today. Braddon very impressive on the road today. They've beaten Ayr United by 4 goals to 1.
And it's a great result because Dan Kinraid got 2 of the goals, one from the penalty spot. Charlie Gibson got his name on the score sheet, and Ben Wazzer got the other one. Great result for him on that. But for Ayr United, it was Mark Nixon who got a goal. So just above Braddon, as you rightly say, in the league. I think that's the penultimate game for Ayr United. So 1 league game left to play. But certainly Braddon, impressive result, puts them on 17 and just makes that gap 12 points now above Douglas High School Old Boys. And I haven't done my maths yet, but Old Boys must be very, very close to being relegated.
We'll have to, I suppose, sift through the stats, if you like. Elsewhere in the north of the island, Ballaclone Stadium saw Ramsey entertaining Foxdale, and Foxdale, of course, rooted to the bottom of the table, just the 3 points so far this season. Still yet to get a victory on the board. It's been a challenging campaign for Foxdale so far. They've given it a good go today at Ramsey, Tony, but ultimately come away empty-handed. Ramsey 4, Foxdale 2.
Yeah, I haven't got Foxdale's goal scorers, but I heard this was really tight at one stage. It might have been 2-1 Ramsey. Not 100% sure, but just heard a little rumour. But Matthew Chauncey got his name on the score sheet once again. Ollie Ayres with a goal. Jamie Agnew and Phil Dunnigan got the other one. So with those 3 points for Ramsey now, puts them on 27. They're 2 points behind Russian United. So still plenty of games for them to play yet. Ramsey have still got 6 games to play.
Indeed, and well, these two sides, when they met today, were actually both have played the joint fewest in the Canada Dive Men's Premier League for one reason or another so far, so still plenty of ground for both Ramsey and Foxdale to make up. Elsewhere, the early kick-off today came from the Bowls Stadium, and arguably the pick of the time, the Canada Dive Men's Premier League today, it pitted St Mary's, last week's ECAP FA Cup finalists, beaten in extra time by Corinthians last weekend in that final. They were hosting a Peel side who started the weekend 5 points behind Corinthians at the top, but with 3 games in hand, so could have moved within 2 points of Corinthians at the top today. They've done exactly that, but they were made to work for it today, Tony. Peel have had to come from behind today to win in a thriller of the Bowl, 5-3.
Yeah, unbelievable, because St Mary's were leading 2 goals to nil, and then I think Peel pulled one back, I think in the start of the second half maybe, and it was 2-1, and you just expected Peel to build on that one. It was Joe Berquist with one, Carl Clark and Alex Harrison in the first team today, and half-time I've just got here through was 2-2, so Peel, good fight back there in the last part of that first half, but certainly in the second half Thomas Brown started to get into action, and he was a busy boy. So the goal scorers for Peel was Thomas Brown, got 2. Jason Charmer got a couple of goals as well. Scott Horn got a rare one as well. So it's not home and hosed yet, but that's a massive 3 points for Peel, because that puts them played 19 now for 50, so they're 2 points behind Corinthians with 2 games in hand. And I think that was a game that Corinthians, if there was any hope of them winning it, St Mary's had to take maximum points, and it hasn't happened. So to me, it's advantage Peel. I
think this year, you spoke about this on Friday Sport Preview last night, looking at the games that Peel still have to come as well, and St Mary's, given the form that they've been in this season generally, that we've been impressed by at times, maybe one of the most notable ones that could have caused an upset here. But Peel at the moment, do you see anyone stopping their momentum?
I don't know, because they've got Ramsey to play. I think they've still got Laxey to play as well. I watched Laxey today. We'll come to that later on. But no, I think Peel have been the strongest team. throughout, most consistent, I should say. They haven't dropped silly points. Maybe that sort of Corinthians will look at where they should have taken maximum points, but they've had a various amount of players scoring goals, and with the form of Thomas Brown at the moment, it's absolutely flying, isn't he? Putting them into the back of the net, and I think it's Peel home and on another title that will match up with last year's.
Well, there was 8 goals there. There were 10 goals at Mull and Maclowie today between St John's United and Douglas High School Old Boys. Douglas High School Old Boys starting the weekend 9 points adrift of safety, second from bottom. St John's United, though, with the chance to move into the top 4 today if they were to take victory. They have managed to do that. They've beaten Douglas High School Old Boys by 7-3. Entertaining game. And interestingly, Tony, before we look at the details of the game as well, they're away from Corinthians and Peel, who just seem to be moving away up at the top as they have done in recent weeks. Seems to be a little bit of a mini battle going on at the moment for a place in the top 4 between Laxey, St John's United, Onken and St Mary's. And the way results have gone today, St John's United moving up into 4th in the table this afternoon.
Yeah, they have, and St John's now on 34 points, and they've matched Onken. Onken just 2 below them on goal difference, but I think, or 3 it'll be now with the Laxey result, but I think St John's disappointed midweek not to pick up some points, but when people say, there's nothing to play for, yes there is, there's pride, and pride is absolutely huge in sport, and every single player, I feel, goes out on that field and wants to win any game, whether it's battling towards the bottom, in the middle or near the top, and St John's have done that today because great performance by Callum Taggart. He was well marshalled midweek, but he got 4 today. Dean Lees, who wasn't he was there at the game on Tuesday, but he didn't take the playing field. He got 2, and Joe Quayle as well got 1. I think it was Joe who started it all off today. He got the first goal after 5 minutes, so a big result that for St John's. Old Boys, we haven't got their scorers, but I was just doing a rough calculation there when I look at Braddon now played 21 for 17, and Old Boys have played 24-5, so they got 4 games left. That's 12 points. 12 on 5 is 17. Goal difference isn't too bad, so Old Boys aren't down technically on goal difference, but they need to win every single game, and Braddon not to pick up any more points for them to survive.
Yeah, mathematically hanging by a thread at the moment, Douglas High School Old Boys, but Foxdale beneath them on 3 points. But as mentioned, played 3 games less than Douglas High School Old Boys going into today. Mentioned St John's United moving up to 4th. Well, they're now sandwiched between 2 teams that faced each other today over at the Niverson Stadium. Onken up against Laxey, 2 of the sides that have been pushing, I suppose, right in the top 4 or 5 for much of the season as well. Been closely matched in terms of the league table so far this season, closely matched on the pitch today, but the visitors coming away with a big 3 points today. Onken 0, Laxey 1. Yeah,
and I got most of this game. Sorry about not being able to come through, but it was Ed Canner who got the goal in the second half, but I have to say it wasn't very exciting by both teams. They both seem to sort of struggle just to get it going because, as we've said many times, and I have knocked on the door saying how impressive Onken have looked. I thought James McEwen at the back was really solid for Onken, put in a good performance, but it just seemed a dull affair for whatever reason. It was bitterly cold at the stadium, Rob, so I'm putting it down to that one because you couldn't keep warm, and certainly the players out there must have found it a bit of a struggle, but like most teams have in the Premier League today, they've struggled with the wind. Certainly at Ramsey it was a problem, at Rushen it was a problem, and certainly today Laxey just didn't seem to get things going, but they got the result because Ed Canner got a bit of space, and the goalkeeper really committed. He couldn't do much about it, and the goal stood. So it was Onken 0, Laxey 1, and 3 important points for Laxey. So they go on now 37 points and stay 3rd.
So moving on to Ardern and Druggan Limited Division 2 going into this weekend. Colby still sat a very pretty 10 points clear at the top ahead of Southern rivals Castletown going into this weekend. Colby involved in a Southern derby today away at Maloo, and Castletown up against the GH Corlett Woods Cup winners this year, Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys among the ties. Still got a couple of outstanding scores, but 2 of the most important ones arguably, Tony, this weekend we do have. We'll start with Colby at home to Maloo, getting the job done today, beating Maloo 3-0.
Yeah, and that puts Colby now on play 21 for 53 points in, as you rightly say, above Castletown now 13 points. So Castletown will come to their score in a minute, but Seb Spears how many goals has he been scoring? Is that the third or fourth game he scored on the bounce? I know one of them against Castletown, he came off the bench and scored the winner. But today, 2 for him. James Galloway got the other one, so super result, keeping the pressure on the rest of the teams at the top who are battling with them and taking the points away from Malou. I think it's a really good result because Malou have been in good form of late, and to keep them silent as well with the forward line that they've got. Pretty impressive performance by Colby.
One of the other important results we were looking for was between Castletown in second, Ramsey Centre Old Boys in fourth, and Castletown another setback for them in their chase for promotion. They now find themselves 13 points off the pace of Colby at the top, despite playing a game less. Beaten at home today by Ramsey Centre Old Boys by 3-0, who Tony moved to within 4 points of Castletown in second with that result, and of course we're still waiting to hear on Moran as well. So another big setback for Castletown. It's not a case of looking up at the moment for Castletown, despite how good they were at the start of the season. They're very much looking nervously over their shoulder at the moment to Moran and Ramsey Centre and Old Boys with the way things are going. Yeah,
they've got to, and certainly today 1-0 at half time. It was all to play for Castletown. But I don't know, when you look at Ross Crawford up front, you've got not Jordan Crawley, you've got Alex Crawley. They're two prominent goal scorers who score plenty of goals for Castletown. They had a good result midweek, but whatever's happened, they're sort of throwing it away a little bit because when you look at that league table now, when you've got Moran, I don't think we've had their result through yet, but we've got Ramsey Centre and Old Boys played 20 now for 36 points. They're only 4 behind Castletown, and it's really nice and tight in that Division 2. But if we can get the scorers through to us, it'd be handy, please. 166 177.
Absolutely. So still waiting on a couple of results from our Durham and Drug Unlimited Division 2 today as of the start of the programme. One of those, Pulrose United up against Governors Athletic. Tony, have we had any
just got that one there through, yes, and it was 1-1 at half-time, Rob. But the final result was Pulrose 8, Governors Athletic 2. We haven't got the scorers for Governors Athletic through or Pulrose. So again, if you could text us through, please, 166 177, and we'll give the guys a mention.
So that means Pulrose United continuing to cement their place at the moment in the top half of the table. That means they move 7 points clear of Malou just below them, who of course had that 3-0 defeat away at Colby this afternoon. Elsewhere, we were still waiting for details from Glen Crutchley Road between St George's and Douglas and District.
Yeah, we've got that one through as well, and St George's were 2-0 up at half time. It finished up St George's 5, Douglas and District 1. We haven't got St George's goal scorer, but Kyle Croft scored for Douglas and District. There'll be an occasion he'll remember as well, because that's his first, I think, senior goal for the club. So well done to Kyle. They've got some really promising 16-year-olds coming through. As they're turning 16, they're allowed in, and D&D are firing them in, and fair play to them. And as I say, I was having a look at their pitch on Wednesday, I think it was, and they're hopefully, fingers crossed, weather's crossed, and fertiliser grows and grass grows, that D&D might be able to get on that pitch in September 2026. So that's a year ahead of schedule. So well done to everyone who's working so hard on it from the corporation, and also D&D, because they've got a financial input into what's going on there, and credit to them. And they'd love to have their home pitch up there at Nobles Park in a surface that I think is going to be top notch.
Very well, yeah, we'll have to see if Douglas and District can move to their new home, if you like, at Nobles Park for next season. Well, elsewhere, Tony, I don't know if Moran and Douglas Royal are doing this for dramatic purposes or whether it's just by complete coincidence, but this is one of the key results we're looking for today, because at the start of today, for those who just want a little bit of an idea of the lay of the land going into this, Moran was sitting 3 points behind Castletown in second to that final promotion place, but Moran, with 3 games in hand, Castletown beaten at home today by Ramsey Centre and Old Boys. Moran up against the Douglas Royal side that have caused a few upsets to teams above them so far this season as well, so certainly not a given for Moran today. Tony, do we have any updates as of yet?
Hopefully. I've just texted the manager, so we'll see if we can get a score through in the next 30 seconds. That we're just going to have a little look at Douglas Royal, because they are in the same boat as Douglas and District, where they've got some really good 16-year-olds coming through. So you've got to be patient, you've got to give them the chance. And it was great to see today Onken against Laxey in the Premier League. I think there was 2 16-year-olds on the bench there as well, and I think one of them made their debut. And we need these young players coming through, because, at the moment some teams are, struggling to get teams out. When you look at the moment, you've had Union Mills, you've had Ayr United, who have been consistent, and Malou not being able to field teams. So there's a shortage of players at some clubs, so we've got to try and entice the players back in. But certainly it seems to be a problem on that one. And I think we might just have, and it might be my fault on this one, thank you, Dean, Moran and Douglas Royal. This game was played midweek, so I think I'll put it on the fixtures at the bottom of you, but I'll check that one. That might be my mistake.
No worries. Well, we'll try and get details where we can. Moving on to the combination leagues and Canada Life Combination 1 before we get into any results. There were 2 games that didn't take place today. A reminder of those. Union Mills versus Russian United. That was awarded as an away walkover to Russian United. Yeah. Union Mills unable to field a team. And also Braddon versus Ayr United. That was awarded as a home walkover to Braddon. Ayr United unable to field a team. Elsewhere, we were awaiting a result at Billygoat Park between Foxdale and Ramsey.
I've got the score. Luckily, I haven't got the scorers because...
You left a dramatic pause there. Was that on purpose?
Well, what it was Foxdale 1, Ramsey 13. I haven't got the scorers through on this just yet, I don't think. So it might be handy not to have them, actually, because it might take a bit of time. But we'll see if we can get it in. I'll flick a text off. There's one gone, and we'll see if that'll come through. But yeah, the score we've gone through, and it's an official score, is Foxdale 1, Ramsey 13.
Very well. And elsewhere out at Douglas Road, Peel, who are right in the midst of the Canada Life Combination 1 title race as it stands at the moment. They were hosting St Mary's today. And as it stands, Peel going to the top of the standings on goal difference, given the results we've had so far, beating St Mary's by 3-1.
Yeah, and when you say you look at the league table, I'll let you do the calcs in a minute, but they've got to keep the pressure on, and the one St Mary's here is, St Mary's is 6th in the league, and they've got some really strong players in that, and it just shows you today because Frank Jones scored for St Mary's, so good to see him back kicking a football. But today for Peel, Matthew Shearman I've got here on the sheet with 1. Ben Sturgeon playing in the combination at the moment, got a goal, and Toby Little, who's scoring for fun in that combination team. So on my reckoning, Corinthians didn't play today, so they're 22 for 48. Then you've got Peel, who have played 22 for 48, and their goal difference is superior, so they'll move above Corinthians in the league. And then Ramsey, with that score there, they have now played 20 for 46, but now with a goal difference of what will that be? That'll be 12 on that, so 76. So that's made a huge difference on their goal difference, and it's still nice and tight. But I still feel those 2 games in hand that Ramsey have on Peel, and they also have 2 games in hand on Corinthians. That points to me where that title's going to go, and I still feel it's going to be Ramsey.
So as it stands, just going off the details we've got in front of us, so as Tony was just mentioning there, so Peel and Corinthians locked together at the top, both on 48 points after 22 games. Peel ahead by virtue of their superior goal difference. Ramsey moving up into 3rd, 46 points after 20 games, so 2 games in hand on the team above them, and then a point further back, Onken in 4th. They're on 45 points. They earned a 5-2 win at Laxey today.
Yeah, and I've got no information on that one, but I picked it a little bit up from Oncombe Park, where the first teams were playing. That's Oncombe were in the lead 2-0, so they just built on that lead. Laxey did so get a couple of goals, so clawed themselves back into it. But as you rightly say, now Oncombe played 21 for 45 points, so it's a big ask, I think, for them because, I remember when you look at recent times, Ramsey have beaten Peel, beaten Corinthians, so it says to me that it's going towards Ramsey.
And the one remaining result we were looking for as well in Canada Life Combination 1 was at Blackberry Lane, Douglas High School Boys versus St John's United, Tony.
Yeah, and I haven't got that one. Yes, I have. It's come through. It was 2-1 to St John's at half-time. It finished up Old Boys 3, St John's 3. The scorers for Douglas High School Old Boys was Carl Clare with 1, Mark Walmsley on the score sheet there, and Tyler Lattis Callister got the other one. So Old Boys combination, I know they're struggling for a team today because a few of the players were missing, but they've certainly done a good job on St John's. St John's had stronger team out and finished up 3-3.
Moving on to Ardern and Drug Unlimited Combination 2. One game called off today between Malou and Colby, awarded as an away walkover to Colby. Malou unable to field a team this weekend in Ardern and Drug Unlimited Combination 2. Elsewhere, results starting to come through at the moment, or at least updated details, if you like. We've got here, Tony, Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 4, Castletown 2.
Yeah, that's correct. I haven't got the Ramsey Youth Centre's goal scorers. I'm just waiting to see if Will's come through with them, but he hasn't yet. But Josh Tyra got one for Castletown. Teddy Weatherall got the other one. But Ramsey Youth Centre keep that pressure, don't they, at the top of the table on, and with Pulrose and also Douglas Athletic chipping away in there. At the moment, it's going towards Ramsey Youth Centre. Played 20 for 55 points.
Yeah, three-way tie still at the top of the table. Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys at the top. Well, Pulrose United in third by virtue of goal difference. They've beaten Governors Athletic today by 3-2.
And it was Aaron Livesey with two of the goals for Pulrose. James Clark, who's been a regular scorer for Pulrose's combination with another. And it was Callum Wade who got both goals for Governors Athletic.
And for the other team in that title race, Douglas Athletic, second at the moment, behind Ramsey Youth Centre on goal difference, but haven't played a game more. Douglas Athletic just edging past Douglas Royal today, beat them 2-1.
Yeah, that's the score that you've just given me. I didn't have it on my sheet. Have we got any goal scorers? No?
No details on goal scorers as of yet, but if anyone does have the details yet, please do let us know. Text or WhatsApp 166 177. Elsewhere, 9 goals between Douglas and District and St George's, the latter taking the majority of them in this case. Douglas and District 3, St George's 6.
Yeah, and I think it must... I'm not saying it's the win that's caused it, Rob, but I'll give you the half-time score. It was Douglas and District 2, so they were in the lead against St George's 1. So they scored 4 goals in the second half. So by what everyone's saying, the wind may have played a big part. We haven't got St George's goal scorers, but for Douglas and District, it was Dylan Barlow with 2 goals. The first one was his first goal for the senior club, so well done, Dylan. And Jacqueline Myers got the other one. So a good effort by Douglas and District in combination 2, but St George's came out 6-3 winners.
And last but certainly not least, in the northwest of the island, Michael United took on Marown today. Michael United 2, Marown 4.
Yeah, and a good performance by Marown, and Matthew Rice with a goal. Ethan Reddy got one. Niall Gibney on the score sheet, and Robbie Thorne got the other. Haven't got Michael United's 2 goal scorers.
And I've just had an update from our rugby correspondent. There has been a dramatic clerical error in terms of one of the rugby scores that we had earlier today. We did initially say that it was in the Hartford Holmes Bank Shield. It finished Western Vikings 73, Douglas Celts 10. That was even a surprise to me, I think, as well. Well, we've just had it confirmed that the score line is in fact the other way around. It's finished Western Vikings 10, Douglas Celts 73. So that means that Douglas Celts secure the Hartford Holmes Manx Shield title. So a dramatic change of events and statistics going throughout this afternoon there. So Douglas Celts beating Western Vikings by 73 points to 10. We'll get all the details from our rugby correspondent Dave Christian very shortly. So just having a look at a couple of other quick things, Tony, to wrap things up. Just finish on in terms of the local side of things. Ardern Drug Limited Combination 2's table at the moment. I mean, look at this. Ramsey Centre and Old Boys, 55 points after 20 games. Top of the table. Second place, Douglas Athletic, 55 points after 21 games. Pulrose United, third place, 55 points after 20 games. All of them only separated by goal difference. Douglas Athletic that game more. This is going right down to the wire. This is some title race at the moment, isn't it?
It certainly is. And just to let you know that these clubs play 24 games. So when you look at it, Ramsey Youth Centre have now played 20. Athletic have got 3 to go. And Pulrose United have played 20 games as well. So, we'll just keep an eye. The goal difference, Ramsey Youth Centre and Douglas Athletic, not too big a difference. I know it's 12, still a lot, but Pulrose are way down there, over 30 goals behind on that one. But it's all to play for, so a bit of pressure on them to see what they can do. And don't forget that the cup for the combination sides, the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup, starts a week tomorrow, so bring that in as well. So the games will probably end up being played midweek, and that's where some clubs can get caught out with player availability. And also people not being able to sort of get to the grounds and stuff. It can be a bit of a problem.
And just very quickly, Tony, I mentioned for FC Isle of Man away in the NWCFL Premier Division today, and they've just lost out in an absolute thriller over at Mossy Park today. To and fro this was throughout the 90 minutes, or just over 90 minutes, we should say. Finished Charlotte Richard 5, FC Isle of Man 4. Charlotte Richard were 2-0 up at half-time, courtesy of a quick-fire double from Nathan Nicaus, but FC Isle of Man struck back early in the second half. First off, Jacob Crook heading home 7 minutes after the restart, and then Charlie Higgins netting the first of 2 goals for him on the day on the hour mark to level things up. And Charlotte Richard just pulling away again with 3 goals in the space of 10 minutes through Lewis Haydock, Shea Stansfield and Jordan Dar. FC Isle of Man, a late surge from them. Charlie Higgins netting from the penalty spot in the first minute, second half stoppage time, and then an own goal from Charlotte Richard's Marcus Haydock set up a nervy ending for the home side. But Charlotte Richard hanging on for the 3 points there. Tony, at least from the neutral perspective, neither of us were there today, but sounds like a very entertaining game at Mossy Park.
Well, it is, and it's nice to score goals as well. And, we're coming to 2-3 games left. Still no reports from where we are with Prestige Hayes yet. Nothing
no
come
updates
through.
at the moment with regards to that game.
Right, so we're just waiting to hear what happens on that one. But, it's when you look at Charlie Higgins, another couple of goals for him today. He's had a tremendous season. He'll probably finish up with the leading goal scorer and probably player of the year, to be fair, because he's been in good form. And, it's just today they've had a good effort on it. OK, they've lost the game in the end, but from what I was hearing, Rob, it was 2-0 down at one stage, and they've bounced back into it. So that shows character. And listening to Rick Holden's interviews, he's always said, just want to finish on a good point, play well, get as many points as we can. And today scoring 4 goals and losing, that doesn't happen very often. So, long trip home. Back on the boat, I take it they're coming back in tonight. But the boys will certainly have sore legs by the sound of it, putting a good shift in.
Tony Mepham, thank you very much indeed this evening.
Manx Radio Sports, brought to you by the Pritchard. Visit theprintshediom.com today to set up your personalised web shop for your sports club or business.
Turning our attention now to rugby and another busy schedule both on the Isle of Man and further afield. Douglas, it was now or never for them today in Regional 2 Northwest in their quest for the playoffs away at the newly crowned Regional 2 Northwest champions North Ribblesdale. We'll get the lowdown on that. A doubleheader in County 3 ADM Lancashire and Cheshire's Minor Conference League. Both Ramsey and Vagabonds competing on home soil this weekend against Ormskirk and Hoylake respectively. And in the Hertford Homes Manx Shield, Douglas Celts started the weekend knowing that more than a point would see them secure this year's Manx Shield title when they took on Western Vikings. With all the details from today is our rugby correspondent Dave Christian. And Dave, to start with, we're going to turn to Regional 2 Northwest because Douglas away at North Ribblesdale, a big task for them today. They needed at least 3 points to make sure of a promotion playoff place, with the likes of their nearest challengers, Burnage and Widnes, involved in potentially tough games for themselves today. What can you tell us about how it turned out for Douglas at North Ribblesdale and how we're looking? Have Douglas made the playoffs or not in this final game of the regular season?
Well, let's see, where will we start, Rob? I'll tell you what, we'll put everybody out of their misery to start with. They have made the playoffs. However, it wasn't anything to do with their performance today at North Ribblesdale. They needed 3 points, as you say, and they started the game really well. I had an observer there who was reporting back to me. Douglas started the game well. He had a dominant scrummage that earned them an early penalty. Nathan Robson slotted that through the posts. 3-0 lead. But after that, the traffic went distinctly one way. North Rib picked off 4 tries in the first half. Plus 2 conversions. They led 24-3 at half-time. And Douglas, of course, knowing they had to push forward, I think what's happening is that they've left gaps a little bit at the back. They're attempting high-risk passes. There was an interception in amongst those 4 tries in the first half. And they couldn't really do much more than that. They had to go for broke. They threw caution to the wind in the second half, and North Ribblesdale exploited the gaps and ran away with it, 50 points to 3 in the end. One of those was a try-and conversion of the very last play of the game, which put a little bit more gloss on the scoreboard. So I'll have Douglas with an anxious wait. The game at North Ribblesdale kicked off at 2:30. Everybody else was kicking off at 3 o'clock, which means a long wait and multiple presses of the reset button on your browser just to make sure that you've got the latest details. And I've been beavering away here this afternoon watching the websites of Burnage, Widnes, North Ribblesdale and Sandbach to see which one would crack first. And we finally got some cracks. First of all, we found that Widnes beat Birkenhead Park with a bonus point at Widnes, and that put Widnes ahead of Douglas down into the final playoff place. And one of the last results to come through was the result from Burnage at Sandbach, and we find out that Sandbach won that one 25-15, which means Burnage get nothing from the game. There's no try bonus point, no losing bonus point, and Douglas therefore claim the final place in the promotion playoffs. By 2 championship points, Burnage needed to pick up 3 points away at Sandbach, and that wasn't going to happen. Sandbach already qualified for the playoffs. We're not sure exactly how the playoff system's going to work. We're going to pick up the fixtures for that probably later in the week. I think, and I'm going from memory here, that second place in the table will play 5th. So that would be Vale of Loon versus Douglas at Vale of Loon. Which at short notice might be difficult to pick up flights for. However, Vale of Loon, just playing at Lancaster there, it's ideal for the Haitian boat. So Douglas might get lucky with that one. And the other playoff will be Sandbach at home against Widnes. But I've still got final confirmation of that to come from the RFU. So hopefully we'll get an announcement sometime later this week. But congratulations to Douglas. I suspect, and I'm probably not the only one who would say this, that they should perhaps have done a little bit better than that. At the end of November, they were top of the table. They'd beaten North Ribblesdale. They'd beaten Vale of Loon. They'd lost to Sandbach twice, which was fair enough, but they were both close games. But from going top of the table at the end of November to slumping down to just picking up the final playoff place, they'll need to look at themselves and the results that they had through December, January, February and March, just to see exactly what went wrong. I suspect that it's probably just wear and tear on the squad. They were picking up injuries and they're still carrying some right now. And not having all your first choice players available every week is always going to cause a problem. But the underlying causes are something that Phil Kringle will obviously play close to his chest up there at Douglas. But they've still got a shot at promotion, but they've got 2 very tough games ahead of them if they're going to do it. But congratulations to them. They've finished in the playoff places. Deserved on their early season form, perhaps not so much from December onwards. But fair play to Douglas. In Counties 3, ADM, it was a bit of a mixed bag. Both Manx sides at home. Vagabonds beat Hoylake 32-12 at Bella Fletcher, and that actually puts them temporarily top of the conference standings. Now, I say temporarily because we still haven't seen the carryover of the points from Phase 1 of the competition into Phase 2. Now, I understand this is because the RFU computer system is administratively difficult to work with. And what will happen is there'll be a points adjustment put in for each team. But there's still one outstanding fixture, I think, from Phase 1 of the competition, which is being played next week. And that may well determine when the carryover is going to take place. But I know the other clubs in the league are frustrated by this. I was at a clubs meeting on Wednesday night, I think, last week. And everybody's a little bit frustrated by it, but it's an awkward situation. Nobody really to blame for it, but the RFU computer system didn't forecast that this would be a need at the time it was constructed. I think it's probably the best way to describe it. Vaggers today, skipper Dan Bomwick led from the front, 2 tries for him. There were also tries from Harry Goodwin, Theo Head, Brendan Kelly and Jack Cutts, with Cutts kicking 1 conversion in the blustery conditions up there at Balla Fletcher. Down at Ramsey, at the Mirrock Park, Ramsey took the early lead with a Dan Kelly penalty after just 5 minutes. But Ormskirk hit back, 2 tries from the captain, James Lang, plus 1 from flanker Christian Lawrence, with 2 conversions as well coming from Andy Evans. Give them a 19-3 lead as half-time approached. But on the stroke of half-time, Josh Curtin pulled one back for Ramsey. And when they turned around, Ormskirk were 19-8 ahead. In the second half, there was only 1 score. The blustery conditions at the Mirrock proving very difficult for both teams. And the try came from Ormskirk prop Andy Evans. He picked up a try which he converted himself, and that gave Ormskirk a bonus point. I've just been flicking between Phase 1 and Phase 2 league tables, and Ormskirk have 40 points to carry forward from Phase 1, which is an impressive total, and I suspect is going to make them title favourites. But right now, if you look at englandrugby.com, it's Vagabonds who are on top. And finally, the last game of the day, and it's entirely my fault, Rob. I'm awfully sorry. It was my error, 100%. I just got the result the wrong way round. Western Vikings were beaten 73-10 by Douglas Celts. Congratulations to Percy Hampton and the team. They're clearly celebrating now because Percy's not yet provided me with any scorer information from the match. But that does secure the Manx Shield, the Hertford Holmes Manx Shield title for Douglas Celts, and it gives them a chance of a potential Manx Shield and Manx Cup double because they have a Manx Cup final coming up against Southern Nomads on the, gonna stick my neck out here, 2nd of May, I think. And that should be a big afternoon for Douglas Celts. And the Shield and Cup double hasn't been done for a few years. It has been done before. I think Ramsey did it in 2001. And somebody else has picked it off in between. But fair play to Douglas Celts. They've been the form team all season in the Manx Cup and the Manx Shield. And congratulations to them today. They get some silverware.
And just finally, Dave, to look over, I suppose, with all of the teams out there, we know Douglas, as you've mentioned, that's the end of the regulation Regional 2 North West season, playoffs to come, more details to be confirmed in the coming days. Counties 3 ADM Lancashire and Cheshire's Minor Conference League still ongoing for Ramsey and Vagabonds. The Hertford Holmes Manx Shield, Douglas Celts taking the title today. Congratulations to them. In terms of the Manx season as a whole, both in terms of local competitions and the English Club Championships, how long have we got to go? What does it look like more broadly over the coming weeks?
Well, those promotion playoffs, it's only 2 matches for Douglas, so that shouldn't take too long to dispose of. And I think that the restriction there is going to be with their travel problems. In Counties 3, Vagabonds have 1 game left. Ramsey have 2. Ramsey will have Congleton at home next week and then Hoylake away. That's going to double up as the Cheshire Bowl final as well. So that's to come up. That will leave Ramsey finished on the 25th of April, and that should be the same for Douglas and Vagabonds. Vagabonds ladies have got 2 fixtures left, I think. That should be them clear by the 2nd of May at the latest. And of course, we have the Manx Cup, and that will be taking place on the 2nd of May off the top of my head. So I think 2nd of May should have everything sorted. Yeah, Vagabonds at home against Didsbury next Saturday in the ladies, and then away at Sale FC on the following weekend. So everything should be done by the 25th of April or the 2nd of May, and everybody can then have a nice little break over the summer.
Excellent, Dave. Thank you very much as always.
Manx Radio Sports, brought to you by the Pritchard. Visit theprintshed.iom.com today to set up your personalised web shop for your sports club or business.
You're listening to Saturday Sport Classified on Manx Radio AM 1368. The time is just gone 17 minutes to 6. So that's football and rugby covered for this week. Now we're going to turn our attention to motorsport. And racing action is back at Jurby Airfield this weekend for the 2nd round of the 2026 Andreas Racing Association Championships. Testing sessions have been taking place out on track in the north of the island today ahead of race day tomorrow, and another good turnout is expected across all 11 classes on Sunday, including an expanded sidecar field for this phase. Well, ARA Club Secretary Neal Champion has been speaking with us this week about what's in store on Sunday and how good the curtain raiser to the season was 2 weeks ago.
Fundamentally, it was a really, really excellent way to open the season. We had a great entry. The last time we had as many people riding with us was during the COVID years when people couldn't really leave the islands, and some really pretty good racing.
Looking ahead then to round 2 this weekend, the open class, the battle between Jamie Kringle and Rory Parker looks like it's going to be continuing yet again this year. From Rory Parker's perspective as well, to get those wins on the opening day, a bit of a benchmark really, a bit of a statement.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jamie's no fool. He knows it's a long season and he knows his way around. So he'll be looking to get his own back. So I think there's another really good race in store there. Further down the other classes, we've got a strong sidecar entry this weekend as well. I think we've got 7 or 8 outfits there as well, including the Crow brothers, Ryan and Callum. So they'll be out there showing everybody how to do it. Some multiple TT winners and lap record holders. In fact, they hold every lap record and every class win in sidecar racing on the Isle of Man at the moment.
The sidecar field that it is expanded for this weekend. And like you say, the reigning TT Southern 100 champions and, of course, reigning sidecar driver and passenger championship champions in the ARA standings from last year as well. It's likely that they're going to set a pretty high benchmark this weekend. But what about the other teams and outfits in behind them as well? How good a test will that be?
I mean, I think in all sport, you get better by competing with people better than you. And I won't pretend that everybody's up at the same level as the Crows. That would be sensational if they were. But, we've got some good people out there as well. So we've got Dave Quirkers out there, Stu Bainbrook, Dan Hope and Lenny Bumphrey. They'll be in the TT as well. So they'll be making sure that everything is settled on their outfit for the TT this year. The Gale brothers, who used to ride together, have now split up because one of them wants to do the TT and the other one doesn't. So they're on different outfits as now. So there's a little inter-family rivalry there as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Ben Gale, isn't it? The passenger of the two brothers, if you like, is hoping to make his mark at the TT, and Jim continuing on his trusty outfit.
He's on with Dave Marshall now for this season. Learning what it's like to be with a different driver. And sidecar crews are like that. They do swap around and get used to each other, but it's still, they still absolutely have to sort of communicate by thought when they're out there.
And elsewhere, away from that as well, obviously one of the other hotly contested classes throughout last season, and probably going into the very early stages, of course, of this championship season, was in the Super Sport class. We saw some great battles between the likes of Grant Thompson and Carl Casement last year. What was that like?
Again, a good weekend. I won't fish out the results as well, but decent field and pretty hot at the front. And again, we got Carl Casement, Paul Cassidy, Sam Norton, Grant Thompson, Dave Rigby, Reece Callister, all out there vying for it. So they'll be within a second or so a lap of each other on their lap times. I think they'll be challenging all the way through to the end.
On a more general note, for both solo and sidecar competitors, I guess, and you've already sort of alluded to it, the road race season is fast approaching. The Isle of Man TT race is really not that far away as well. So for a lot of these riders and teams out there, how good a preparation can the likes of the ARA Championship rounds be for them to get things in order for when those big road racing events come around?
Well, clearly it's a short circuit, so it's not road racing, but there is no substitute to bike time. I mean, all these serious guys spend time in the gym and looking after their fitness, but being on the bike and being bike fit is a different thing. There's no substitute for that. And obviously they've got to shake the bikes down and make sure everything holds together. Jurby is a short circuit, but it's still got a few bumps in it as well. So they've got to make sure it handles over the bumps as well there. So, it's not road racing, but it's the closest thing that they're going to get to it, really.
Manx Radio Sports, brought to you by the Pritchard. Visit theprintshed.iom.com today to set up your personalised web shop for your sports club or business.
That was Club Secretary of the Andreas Racing Association, Neal, champion ahead of the second round of the 2026 Andreas Racing Association Championship at Jurby Airfield tomorrow, after testing sessions taking place at the Northern Circuit today. Well, for any spectators looking to head over to Jurby tomorrow, bikes are due to be out on track from around 9:30 a.m. Entry will be £6 for adults, and under 16s go free. And a reminder as well, particularly for anyone looking to travel to Jurby from the likes of the east, west and south of the island tomorrow, only the southern section of the mountain road from the Cregnabar to the Bungalow is open this weekend. This will allow access to the Bennypot Road and Faulty Will Road until 9:30 a.m. on Monday morning, when that part of the mountain shuts again next week. The Bungalow to Ramsey section of the mountain road remains closed this weekend, so please do bear that in mind if you're planning on heading over to the second round of the Andreas Racing Association Championship this weekend. Well, finally, tonight we're going to be taking a look at triathlon, because preparations are well underway for the 2026 triathlon season on the Isle of Man. And what's more, a busy schedule is planned for this year, with an additional event taking it up to 4 main events for this campaign, which runs from later this month right through until September. And someone who's going to be heavily involved and expected to be heavily involved in that this year is Manx Tri Club member and also 2025 International Island Games medalist Clara Isaac. Well, this week, Clara came to speak with us at Manx Radio about about what's to come this season over the next few weeks and months.
We've got a really exciting year this year, so we've got some great events coming up. We've also got some fantastic new sponsors with, great ties to the triathlon community, so really excited to welcome them this year and get the calendar going. So our first event is coming up soon. It's on the 25th of April, and that's the online payroll junior triathlon at the NSC. So that's age ranges between 8 and 14, really exciting for youngsters coming up. The entry is all available online now, and it's normally a very, very popular event, all based at the NSC, so it's all quite close, easy to get to, and a really, really exciting event for young ones coming up. Then soon after, we have the FIM Capital Sprint Triathlon, and that's coming up on the 10th of May. So, the season is really starting to kick off. It's a great event. It has, all age ranges and teams. You have to be older than 15 to take part in that event. But always a really exciting event. That's a pool swim up at Ramsey. And then the bike and the run are all up north as well. So the bike goes round by Bride and the run's round the Morag. And then we're really excited that this year we're introducing the Paddy Crookhall Manx Middle Distance. It's a half Ironman distance event. It's what most people would kind of know it as. A real big challenge, very popular all over the world at the moment. And we have got some fantastic entries for that. And the entries are still open. That's up north and it's in the Morag Lake Swim. So you'll need your wetsuit for that one, unless it's a really hot day. But a really, really exciting event. Sponsored by Ramsey Crookhall. And then last of all, we've got the Billboards Triathlon Championships at the 6th of September. So that's the same event every year. We have a sprint and we have a standard distance category. And we also have teams in all three of these events as well. So no teams for our junior triathlon, just for the sprint, middle distance and for the championship. So everyone can get involved from all different sports, hoping for good weather and a really good set of events this year.
The half Ironman distance, the interest seems to have grown. Well, it seems like a lot of endurance sports, whether it's triathlon, whether it's purely focused on running and whatnot, just in the last few years, things seem to have exploded in certain nations across the world. Why might that be, I suppose? I mean, maybe just from a triathlon sense on your side of things, why so many more people have been getting involved in the last few years?
It's such a great achievement. And, what an amazing thing to be involved in, sport and health and really pushing yourself to the limits. I think it's absolutely fantastic why it's become so popular. It's the same with marathons. And I think, as we were talking about after COVID, a lot of us had stepped into kind of the realm of sports, and it is a really incredible way to test yourself. And it doesn't matter what age you are, I think is really important. So when you're racing these distances, it can be, like 18-year-olds right the way up. I think one of the ladies who did the World Championships half Ironman, or I think she was full Ironman, was 82 years old. So it is not age discriminatory. You can continue to improve as you get older. And what kind of sport, can you do that in? You see it in running. You definitely see it in triathlon, and I think that's what makes it so impressive and really enticing. Is you've got loads of opportunity.
That was Manx Tri Club member and Ireland Games medalist Clara Isaac looking ahead to the 2026 Isle of Man triathlon season. And if you want to find out more, you can listen to the full extended interview with Clara over at the Manx Radio Sportscast, which is available at manxradio.com. That's about all I have time for on Saturday Sport Classified here on Manx Radio AM 1368 this evening. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you are around the world. We'll be heading back over to Manx Radio Gold in the next couple of minutes. If you want to catch up on anything you may have missed on tonight's programme, it will be available as a podcast later this evening. And don't forget, if you want to catch up with all of the latest sports news from across the Isle of Man, head on over to the sports section over at www.manxradio.com. So that's all that's left for me to say is have yourself a wonderful rest of your Saturday evening, whatever you're doing, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your weekend as well. Until the next time, though, it is bye for now.
Manx Radio Sports, brought to you by the Pritchard. Visit theprintshed.iom.com today to set up your personalised web shop for your sports club or business.